What's up, everybody? There we go. All right, so let's get all the levels good. Turn down my own self, because it does look like I am one of our 5 viewers. That's fine. I wouldn't be. Well, no, I actually probably would still be watching. Let us take a look at. Oh, let's just keep going. Let's grind through this app, and then we'll do some more. Whatever administrative stuff. I'm getting a lot of
Yeah, I think
email questions about.
we also have some Q&As in the We have some Q's, no A's.
Some
We have some
cues
Q's.
about to
Q's.
throw some A's at those cues.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
a lot of questions via email that are discussed during the stream, which I kind of understand if you're if you're here right now, you are probably hearing it um, when you're listening to it before, but those that are not or are listening to this later are probably just sort of scrubbing through, which scrubbing is the term for dragging the playhead across, and playhead is the term for the little play button on a video. Scrubbing is dragging it around. So now you know that. Uh, for people who are just scrubbing the playhead through the videos or not watching them at all, it makes sense that I'm getting questions that are answered in stream. Um, the one that I got a couple of was the um, whether where can you do the actual coding for the create task, because some people are trying to get into the create task unit and are not able to. We discussed that last time, I think, maybe the time before. The days are all blurring together. I'm not really sure. I think it was last time. But we want you to do your coding in just sort of the generic AppLab, which is just a blank canvas, and you can get all of your old projects through View All Projects, and this is where they are all saved. Man, I need to... Actually, I don't need to clear this out. But that's where they're all saved, and if you watched the previous one, I've been doing remixes to sort of do a save as. And I was considering sharing these documents with you, but then I was like, well, you saw it on screen. If you want to do it, the way to learn is to go through and step by step and follow the directions on screen. It just looking at it isn't going to teach you anything. So let's take a look at what we have so far. We have super cool slider for input. We figured that out. Um, I love that a lot. And we have radio buttons that change the lie. Let's put a label there just for some good user interface. What should we call this? Select um, lie of the ball. How does the ball lie? What would you say, Mr. Druzy?
Yeah, I think just like
Uh,
how lie. How
how
ball lie.
how ball lie? How ball lie? And uh, we have room for some other input like wind. Um, we could do that toward the end, and it would probably still sort of work the same way. Of um, we have sand selecting the making it one club shorter, whichever one comes up, and rough making it one club longer. We could have one for wind. In fact, we can do that, but I'd like to get into using the solving the adjustment for this, and then we can do that. I also want this radio button to start out checked, um, because that looks sort of weird before with having nothing checked. Um, so there's that. Okay, so the way we have it set up, the whole the main chunk of the code starts when, well, you select a distance, you select lie, and this is sort of the go button. And we do not have any. We still are missing stuff from where we're going to check. But that club selection button runs this main, our primary chunk of code, just switching the screen, getting the value of the slider, and checking where that slider lies in this sort of brute force if-else statement, which is fine for what we have. But if we had something that was like, let's say there were 80 clubs and 80 distances, I don't know, this would be very inefficient to have 80 if-else statements. You would definitely want to write a loop, and we may go back and just turn this into a loop and see what's what. But we have our if-else, which will choose the club, and the club is based on the distance. But then we need to check for adjustments. And right now we're just using numbers 1 or 0 through 6 because that's actually going to end up being the index. So what we output is going to be club's index, whatever this variable becomes, because index is that slot in that list. Okay, because remember, a variable is like a box that you can keep something in and keep changing. An array or list, same thing, is like a series of boxes where each box has a number, and you can put something inside that box, and it's referenced to by its index, which in this case, output club is going to be, it really should be like output club index, but that's fine. You can name your variables anything. It's really just for you. All right, so we are right now when we get current club select. Well, we are using in here. We've changed when we call this function check lie radio button. This is getting kind of confusing. We are passing through a parameter, whatever the current state, whatever output club number is the result of this if-else statement is going to get sent to check lie radio, and this parameter is that we don't really need to change it. You can change it, but the function knows that whatever comes through in this parameter is this, and then you use it throughout here. So we are going to get the result of, let's clear this, that looks bad. Get the result of the if-else statement, and we need to check to see if the result is, well, we get the result of the if-else statement. We're going to add the value of the end of first period. Add the result of the radio buttons, where if it's rough, we are going to add 1. If it's fairway, we are going to add 0. Lie radio value is 0. And if it's sand, we're going to add -1 or subtract -1. So output club is now going to be, it now gets whatever it was before plus either -1, 0, or 1. And so now we're going to check the new value of output club. If output club is less than 0, meaning let's say we put in the user puts in a value of 80. 80 is less than 104, so we would give it the first club. But the problem is if they have sand, it would try to select a club before that, and there is no club before that. So if output club is less than 0, we are just going to force it back to 0 by club gets 0. And we then we need to see if it is above length. Okay, so remember the last item in a list is the name of the list dot length. The thing is, the name of the list dot length here is 7, but we don't want, we're checking to see if it's past the last one, and the last one is not clubs.length, it's clubs.length minus 1. So this is if output club is greater than clubs dot length minus 1. See if that, yeah, that should work. I may need some parentheses in there. Then we're going to brute force it, output club. And in fact, output length equals clubs dot length, and for the sake of proving things, let's try to break it by not doing the 1. What we need to do is, alright, so the way we're going to test this is by okay, so if we, let's not call check lie radio, and we want to not call clear and reset. We have that off. Okay, so as is, if we make it the highest distance, we want it to come back with 3 iron. Okay, good. We go back. If we make it the highest distance and rough, this should break it. Nope, it didn't break it because we're not checking lie distance. Okay, so now let's try and break it. And so we're going to call this function. We're going to invoke this function where we should add 1 to the maximum and it should break. So let's go, I'll make it the maximum. In fairway, shouldn't change anything. Still a 3 iron. And if we make it rough, still a 3 iron. Let's just for fun, let's console log lie radio value. Do I have that?
I want to do a refresh first, just in case.
Good call. Did I throw a console log in there? No. Okay, so let's run it. This should be a 5 iron. We go back here. We go here. Club selection 3 iron. Go here. 3 iron. We have this. Rough should be +1. Lie radio val. Output club. It's output club plus lie radio val. Let's console log. It's really strange to try and break something and have it not break. Club and console log. Oh wait, here's what we can do. We can console log before and after we change it. and run 4. Okay, yes, because it's index 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. But it should say 5 iron. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's right. So we'll go back. Let's go to the highest one. Hit club selection. Index 6. Which is fine because we're still on fairway. And let's hit rough. And this should now say 6 and 5. Or 6 and 7. Good. There we go. Okay, so we do have the rough input adding a point, adding 1 to output club index. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know if you guys remember from one of the lesson 5. Um, here's what we're gonna do. If you go, oh, what just happened? If you try to reference an index past the last one, it will just give you the last one. So maybe this is an issue we don't need to fix, but we are still going to fix it because that's important. It might be important in JavaScript. So this last one is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just for fun, let's console log clubs index 6 and clubs index 7, which index 7 doesn't exist. And let's see what happens. Yes, undefined. That's what we're looking for. The problem is that what is the problem?
The return of value.
Do you know why?
Undefined.
Because here's what happened was I don't have clear. This is the response from the previous time. So let me turn clear screen back on. That's what happened. This isn't it solving longest distance plus a club. It's leaving the value from the last time. So here we go. All right, so let's prove some things. We'll run it. We hit club selection. We get 5 iron. We go back. We go a little bit more. Club selection 4 iron. We go all the way. Club selection 3 iron. And let's add 1 to the longest. And
it wasn't on the longest.
Oh, good call. Hence the reset. 3 iron. Maybe that is a characteristic of, let's console log. If it's greater, let's make this 5. Yeah, I do think that the last one, if you invoke the last one, or if you try to ask for an item past the last one, it just gives you the last one. I think that is a characteristic of AppLab. So it didn't let us break it, unfortunately. But we are going to keep it from breaking, just so you understand things. All right, so okay, so here's what we're gonna fix. The next time we call this, when we put in length -1, if the output is past length -1, we'll make it length -1, and this should say 3 iron, 3 iron. Oh, I got rid of the stupid console logs. That's why. All right. Well, just trust me. We fixed something that would have broken. All right.
I had a quick question. If you take a look at the set property, what's the one up a little bit? Scroll up. Yeah, like lines 54 through 66. Could that technically be done with like a loop of some sort, since we have essentially like something with parameters? I feel like on the rough radio buttons, since it's the same thing essentially 3 times but with different values. Do you think that could be cleaned up into like a single loop of some sort?
Yes, I do. Um, hmm,
Completely unnecessary, but if we're trying to make it, maximum code.
hmm Um, on event. Can you put or statements in here? First of all, let's shorten these names. These are ridiculous. Sand. Let's call this Sand Brad Button. And let's call this Fair Red Button. No, not Fair. Sand Red Button. And let's call this Rough Red Button. And then let's go back here. And we need to make these work. We want, what was the first one? Rough. I'm starting to think it's better to have the type of um, thing first, like radio button fair, radio button sand, radio button rough, just so that they show up here alphabetically. Rough radio button and sand radio button. Okay, first let's make sure it works. Not sure it does work. What's going on with 89? Oh, we have this again. Send radio button. Fair radio button. Or far radio button. I probably should have used a different one. Distance input, distance slider. Oh yeah, rough radio button. And run. And I want this started out checked. I had that before. Maybe I undid that. Oh, it's not sand label, it's sand radio button. Sand rad button. And you guys can see this is part of the design process of um, changing something and then making sure you didn't break it. Okay, so let's what 150 gives us 5. This should give us 6. No. Okay. So first of all, before we fix that, this should give us 4. No.
I think your selections are also messed up. So when you click on rough, it doesn't get bigger.
No, it
We
should.
broke everything.
No, I have live radio value. Let's
Maybe I didn't see it right. I think when you clicked on like sand or fairway or rough, it didn't appropriately highlight the correct one. Yeah, you see it on the bottom left. I click on rough. Yeah, it's not setting the properties. Could be a refresh thing.
Oh yeah, good call. You're right. It should make the word bigger. Huh. This is rough red button. on event. Oh, yeah, because I did stupid rough label. Rough. No. Okay. This is fair rad button. You guys can start to see the importance of labeling. Fair rad button. That's how it's written. Rough, fair. Let's I'm kind of sick of that not doing that. Let's put let's copy this and just run it at the beginning just to make sure it's selected. Um, right, because for some reason it's not liking that starting out selected. Okay, so just when we run the program, it's going to start. Nope. And we want on clear and reset, we want. This is it.
Yeah, you want the set property checked true, I guess, right? For fairway.
Fair radio button checked is true. Oh, this
is the clear. This, yeah, that's a clear function, so you gotta just throw that up there.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just brute forcing it. Yeah. Okay. So.
Or we put that in a function of itself and have it call that function.
Our boss is now.
Oh, do we have a meeting this morning?
Apparently.
Oh, man. Whoopsies.
I looked at my email. Yeah, was it just voice?
I know he sent one. I just reminder Zoom at 9:30 today. We could
I'm inviting them
to the classroom.
Yeah, to the stream. I wonder if they can get how they'd get to it.
Just share them your link. They're all on their MCPS accounts. Actually, it doesn't even have to be.
Yeah. Let's go to. Sorry, everybody who's watching this live-o. Let's share, copy link, and we'll go here. Okay. So let's really try to make it awesome. I don't know if we have the ability to make it awesomer. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So where were we? We have. Okay. Are we still trying to break it? I can't remember. Clip selection 5. This should make it 4. Okay. So that's not working. Live radio value. I don't know if we need a parameter here, but yeah, I don't think we should send a parameter because it's a global variable. We don't even need it, and we might be making things worse. There we go. So this is actually working. We sort of forced that, and that may have been the reason why it wasn't breaking. Okay, so let's try to break it. So rough, let's go to the longest distance, and rough, it should say 3 iron. Oh. Yeah, so if we go to the long distance, it should say 3 iron. But if we go to the longest distance and rough, well, first of all, this is part of the problem. We haven't. This doesn't actually fix it because I can't spell. we getting more viewers? We have not gotten more viewers yet. All right, so we go to the longest one. We do club, 3 iron. Longest one, rough. It should still say 3 iron. Okay, line 42. Clubs, error, cannot read property of toString of undefined. Set text. Clubs index output club. Let's console log. Why is rough? Yeah, and you guys are getting a good taste of like the real use of console log instead of just like coin tosses and you know, a place to actually like print something out. But this is debugging, as it's called, the debug console. CON console. No wait, we have console log clubs index output club. And what just happened? Okay, so let's run. And now nothing's working. All right. I wonder why it's jamming up so much. We'll run. Okay. Index 4 is 5 iron. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's add one and see. This should now say index 5 and 4 iron. Okay, let's go back one. This should say index 3 and 6 iron. Yeah. And let's go back to here. This should say, let's see what this is. Let's put it at 120. Let's put it at 115. What is our over-under for the first one? Below 120. Yeah, let's see what 115 and fairway does. Fairway 115. Club selection is 2 and 7 iron. And let's do sand 115. Should say index 1 and 8 iron. Good. Let's go down to 100 and fairway. This should say index 0 and 9 iron. Good. And let's go below and go 1 too many. This should say index 0 and 9 iron, even though we've gone one far. Good. All right. Now let's try over here. The longest distance at fairway is, nope, that's not good. Longest distance fairway should be index 7 and 3 iron in the debug console. Or index 6, yeah, that's correct. It's index number 7, so index 6. And rough at the longest one should still say index 6 and 3 iron and not break. And it breaks. Okay. Undefined. Output club, console log, output club is 6. Clubs, am I misspelling something? Clubs, output club. Undefined. Oh, okay. So, yes, we are breaking something. When we have the rough button clicked, live radio val gets 1. Let's console log live radio val before. Radio val beforehand. It's weird that it works forward. Live radio val. Okay, live radio val 0 because it's fairway, and longest distance and rough. Live radio val is 1. Okay, so we have 1. this is working. And if we take the output club variable, which is 6, the last one, and add 1 to is 7, and if, oh, we're not setting output club.length, we're setting output club. That is the problem, and I'm surprised I didn't catch that before. Okay, so longest distance, and it didn't change, so let's reset. Run longest distance, fairway, this should say a bunch of stuff. Yeah, index 7, or index 6 is a 3-iron, and fairway doesn't change anything. So we go back here, let's go to longest distance and go to one more than the longest club, and it should, let's clear this out. Input, yeah, okay, so we've corrected this. Now, I want to see if breaking it works. Breaking it. So, before we have, if we don't have this -1, okay, it currently works. Let's get rid of this -1 and see if it breaks. Okay, so let's run. Let's go to the highest one. This should be 3-iron. Good. Let's go back. Highest one and rough. Yeah. Okay. Because length is 7, but index 7 doesn't exist because this is index 6. So we're saying if it's longer than clubs.length, if output club is greater than, okay, so in other words, this isn't correcting anything because we can't make it go past its last one because of our if-else statement, and therefore it can't, it's not fixing anything, let alone it's not reaching the point where it would fix anything, let alone fix it. So if you're concerned about the last item in a list, like specifically the last item, that is that the name of that array dot length -1, because it's length 7, this is index 6. Well, they can join or not join. All right, so we have our fixing 3-iron, and again, this shouldn't break it. Good. And this is 8-iron. Shouldn't that be 9-iron? Huh. If it is less than, why is it not fixing it now? It's less than 0. Let's refresh again. This is not correct. Oh no, it should work. Okay, so we go back to here, choose our club, 9-iron, good. Let's go back here and do 9-iron -1, which doesn't exist for us at least, and it should still say 9-iron even though our adjustment is -1. Now, let's see if we can do that thing that is there a way to lie radio group 1 is the name of this. I wonder, is there a check property? Or get property? Let's see what get property looks like. Can that be on event? It doesn't stand alone. On event. Okay, this could be inside of our main button, but it also doesn't. It's not a standalone. Okay, so um, we could put this all in a function. Let's call the function no, but it isn't a function. Because there's so many different things changing, I don't think we could loop through. We could, let's see if we could do and or. This is called far radio button. Wonder if you can do or far radio button clicked, and then whoa, that's not what we're looking for. Oh, we already have. It gives you double quotes. And let's comment out. No, there's not a limit to the lines of code. On event far radio, but yeah, okay. So the goal is to have, we're checking to see if the if either of these work, and we would need a console log in order to check that. Let's have a console log. Oh, let's have a console log. See, this is getting into the point where we kind of had it solved, and this would just be tidying it up, but I'm not sure. And it's not going to work because the point is to do it based on, yeah, it won't let me, it's not, we can't do multiple user interface elements as the event thing. So we can't do that. There, I agree with you, Mr. DeRusi, that this is looking, it's a lot of the same stuff, and there is usually a way to combine or refactor a lot things that look repetitive, but I don't think this is a good case for that. Okay, so
That's understandable. So
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
all right, so now we could, let's just for funsies, let's do how wind blow, and let's do some radio buttons, and I'd like them to line up with these. So what are these? These are at Y position 325, and I think it was 40 each, 365 and 405. So let's make these 325, and let's make it a little bit leftish. And so they're all going to be X position 185 and Y position 40 more than the one X position 185. Wasn't this 185? Is that lined up? I guess it is. And we want 325, 365. Good, nailed it. And this one is again whoa, This is, what do we got here? 20. Are these wider than they are tall? 2020, 2020, 2020, 2020. Yeah, these all need to be width 20 by 20. I made these weird elongated bubbles. Oh, it's not changing the circle. It's changing the space that you can click on for it to count. So that's a thing. And this is with 2020. We want 185. And what should we call these? Headwind, tailwind, and none, no wind. So let's call this. We want these to line up also. So are these all 107 by 25? And height, Y position 325. Yeah, so it's going to be the same. 107 by 25. X position, there we go. And center. And text size 13. And can we duplicate? Good. And duplicate. Good. And let's have this first text call let's call this one headwind, even though headwind would add a club and tailwind would take away a club. Is headwind hyphenated? Let's see what the world thinks. Even though language changes over time and we can be the one to change it. Nope, headwind is one word. So headwind, no wind, or no wind, and tailwind, also I'm guessing one word, and tailwind, headwind, this is going to be, we want these to be in lie radio group 2, because if we left it as 1, that means that we could only select one of these, and we don't want it to, we want to select one of these and one of these. So this is, we need to change the group to 2. Group 2 and group 2. And we're just going to essentially duplicate, what do we call these? This is called radio button, headwind, radio button. I know that's super long, but we're not going to reuse it a bunch of times. No wind. Radio button. What happened? Oh, I hit end. No wind. Radio button. And this is called tailwind. Radio button. And are they all in group 2? Good. And so unfortunately we're going to have 3 more of these guys. Let's just go ahead and copy this. And we're going to need another global variable called wind value. This is called, again, I should have done headwind change. Let's go ahead and do this first. Wind radio value, and we're starting at 0. And let's do the same awesome thing we did with this. We want no wind radio button to be 17 at the start, and no wind radio button to be checked at the start. Set property, no wind radio button font size. There's no property name font size element. Oh, we don't want the button, we want the label. What is this called? I'm not going to worry about label. It's called label 6, label 5, label 7. We're just going to remember that. Label 6. Jeez, that's a lot of labels. Is this called label 6? Set property of label. Did anybody see it? Raise your hand if you saw it. Label 6. This is called, well, let's just rename it, jeez. So we want wind label and no wind. Jeez. No wind label. Headwind label and tailwind label. Still not taking my own advice as far as ID names and calling them whatever. So set property of no wind label to that and no wind rate. So we run. Okay, we need to make that bigger. Let's move everything over a bit. Does that look too much? No, I think it'll be alright. Maybe 175. And we're going to need to make these bigger. Does that line up? I'm not sure this is going to look right, but we'll work with it. Bingo. Okay, so let's go back to here. These are our wind radio buttons. Let's put some comments in there. Let's go wind radio buttons. And these are live radio buttons. And so in our wind radio buttons, headwind radio button, we want headwind label to get bigger. What do we say? 17. And we want fair label. No, not fair. No wind. I probably could start with the other one. No wind label to stay to go back to 13, and tailwind label. Tailwind label to go to 13 or stay at 13. And let's run. Sweet, but we don't have the other ones yet. And we also want, what are we calling this? Wind radio value. And if we want, on the headwind, we want it to be one more club. And no wind is no change in the club, and tailwind is one less club. No wind. Wasn't it called no wind radio button? no win radio button change. We want the font size of this to be 13, this to be 17, and we don't want to change the wind radio value. And then this next one is tailwind. Tailwind radio button changes. We're going to make headwind 13, tailwind 17, and wind radio button -1. Okay, and now we should be able to do something that doesn't freeze everything. Wonder if we just have like too many user interface elements, or because I'm streaming there's no... Okay, something's wrong, obviously. Head radio button, no wind radio button, tailwind radio button. Does this still work? This still works. Does this work? Does this... Why doesn't it work twice? Now it doesn't work at all. On event, what do we do for these? Rough radio button click. Oh, because it's not click, it's change. Is it click or is it change? Okay, so let's change this to click. Click. I'm surprised it worked before with click. Still no. Do we change the names? Headwind radio button. Let's see what an event looks like. Head radio button change. Huh. And let's go back to here. Let's see what this led. Tailwind. Okay, so run. No, nothing works. Oh, it does what? Tailwind label. But headwind doesn't work. Any guesses, Mr. DeRusi? Hello?
I have no guesses. Sorry, I was in the in my other meeting there for a second.
Oh, the actual staff meeting that I should be in?
Yes.
Okay. Say hi. Let's comment out this and see if the issue is we have too many radio buttons going.
Could be a refresh issue, which I think you probably just did, but I'm not 100% sure.
Let's bring those back and get, let's see if this still works. 62 radio buttons. Oh. Did I not? No, I don't think that's it, but possibly. Okay, so this still works. This definitely does not work. It works once. Oh. Was I just not clicking on the button? Wow. Okay. That's embarrassing. Well, not really. All right. So we have um, check lie
I think we're at
radio.
1 hour in at this point too. If you want to keep it to an hour.
I mean, I can go a little longer. I'd like to wrap up all these changes, or this
Okay, sounds good.
headwind.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's call this function check um, club change, and we can make or check club changes. And this is a way we could probably make this an abstraction because we're gonna um, use. We can have a function. This is sort of forcing an abstraction, which defeats the purpose. But we can have this function do a couple things. Check club change, and we'll change this function to check club change, and um, no, let's undo that. Let's call radio. Let's add a new function unnecessarily called check. What do we call it? Check club change. Check club change. And check club change is going to call check lie radio. Radio. And it's also going to call check win radio. And we need to add some other stuff in there. Wonder if we could turn this into a return function. Ooh, this is good. Let's get rid of this. And we're going to set text to. Oh, this is unnecessarily good. Let's we are going to call this function, and we're going to call it with output club. And what we're hoping for is that it comes back. This is going to be a return function. Check lie radio, which we need output club here. We'll call this pre we'll call this the before club, and we can pass this through the before club and before club. And check lie radio and check. This really should be one function. I think using a return function is enough complexity, enough forced complexity. So output club is God, do we even need a parameter? Before club equals output club plus lie radio plus win valve radio. wind radio val. This is adding -1, 0, or 1 for the type of lie, and this is adding -1, 0, or 1 for the wind. And if before club equals is less than 0, output club is 1, and if before club is greater than club's dot length -1, output club is itself. And let's return clubs index output club. And if this works, it's one of the top 5 greatest things I've ever done. Okay, so let's this should say 5 iron. Okay, if we go up, this should say 3 iron. Holy moly. This should still say 3 iron. Holy moly. This should say this should still say 3 iron. Good. This should say 4 iron. No. Okay. This should say 4 iron. No. Okay. So let's try. This should say 9 iron. Good. This should say 8 iron. No. Okay, so this is not working. We are getting a return function. The return function is sending something. Let's before club is less than 0 is output club plus, no, this should say output club, and we need to var before club. Var is not a verb. Let's try here. Okay, this should say 3 iron. This should still say 3 iron. Good. This should say 4 iron. Nope. Okay, output club. Before club is output club. Let's say here. No, don't. Let's get rid of that. Check club. Before club is output club plus lie radio val plus rin radio val. If before club now is less than 0, we set to 0. If it's greater than there's greater, return club's index out val. Okay, this should say 3 iron. This should say, oh, no. Tailwind should be 1 less. This should say 4 iron. But it doesn't. Why are these not working? Let's do some console logging when in doubt. And if we can't solve this real quick, we will punt and fix it next time. I could have a typo somewhere. Five iron, 3 iron. This should say something different. 7. And, but why is this not, okay, headwind, we want one more club. No wind, we don't want to change. Tailwind, we want one less club. Let's it's because we're, you know what, we need some, do we have check radio button? This is check club. Let's check radio button. Let's put all of these into one thing because I don't think it's getting to them. And then, well, that'll be it for today. We're gonna call this check radio buttons. And then we need to define the function. We'll put it down here with our function definitions. And let's go here, check radio buttons. Is that what I call it? Check radio buttons. And let's get some if-else going. If, what do we call this? Headwind radio, headwind radio button is equals true. Then we want headwind radio button, wind radio valve goes up 1. Else if, let's just move this up here so I can see everything at the same time temporarily. Else if no wind radio button equals true, then we want wind radio value to be 0. And we do need an if for the last one because, well, we don't actually, but why not? Belt and suspenders, as they say. Tailwind radio button equals true. Then we'll do this. Okay, so that's for the winds, and I think we need a separate one for the lies. So let's put this so I can see it at the same time. If rough radio button equals true, rough gives us one more. Else if fair radio button double equals true, we don't change the club. Else if sand radio value equals true, then we take one away. And I'm honestly not sure what is supposed to change or break at this point. I've lost track. Alright, but let's give it a shot and see what happens. Run. We can't figure out rough radio button. Rough red button. Oh, these need to be in quotes, I think. Oh god, it's gonna take forever. Well, we'll know it's true if it says fair radio button isn't work. Yep, they need quotes. All right, we'll do this, and then this will be it. Whether it works or not, this will be it. And yeah, because these are not variables, these are names of the design elements. They are names, not variables. Headwind, let's see here. No, nothing works. Let's see, does anything work? Nothing works. Alright, so that's what we're going to call it today. Good work, everybody. We will debug this. No, I need to know how this works. Okay, check radio buttons. We have check radio buttons. But no, we call this check club change. I think check radio buttons needs to be inside of check club change. And let's reset just in case. Again, 3 iron. Holy moly. Right back to the beginning. 9 iron. Good. This should say 8 iron. No, it does not. Check club change. Says check radio button. Let's wind radio val. Let's console log wind radio val and lie radio val before they start getting changed with or messed with. And I don't think we even need before club. That's overkill. This will be the last thing. Nope, it's not changing it. Is it checked? Click, click, click. Let's go back to the design thing and see what the documentation. Get checked. Oh, if that's what it needs to be. Get checked. Check radio buttons. Let's do this. It's not true. It's get checked. And let's go. What do we need to we need at the end we're going to need a quote and a parentheses. Red radio button. Another parentheses. There we go. All right. So let's if rough radio button. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is working. We need to get checked. Let's just change. We need to put this here and get rid of this. And put this here. This will be the last thing, I sort of promise. Get checked, get checked, get checked. And the first one, get checked, open, and close, And this one can go here. And that's good. And this one can go here. And that's good. Okay, 0, 0, good. Let's go up one. So this should say 6 iron. No, it does not. It is changing live val. And for next time, 004, this should say something other than 004 here. Why is this not changing? Let's get rid of before club. And let's get rid of these parentheses. No, I mean, it shouldn't make a difference. Let's, output club gets output line radio. There's nothing called before club anymore. There's nothing called before club anymore. This is called refactoring, and it's fun. Or debugging, I should say. 5 iron, this should be 6 iron? No, 4 iron. Yeah, that's right. Oh my god, I think it's working. This should be 6 iron. Hey! This should be 5 iron again. Holy moly, we got it. Praise Buddha. Alright, so that's what we're going to call it for today. And we'll do something else. Next time, we are definitely not going to stream Monday. I have no available times, but at some point on Tuesday, most likely, we'll do some sort of streaming. Get your questions in to the forum, and it may be a stream of just general catching up and explanation and digital portfolio stuff, like how you're actually going to hand it in. But we will figure it out then. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.